Hey there, and welcome to a review of another game by surreygames.ca. This one's called Shots Fired, Surrey. Team up to stop Surrey's gun violence from negatively affecting property values. There's some small print right at the bottom there. This looks like a pretty plain box, but I was quite delighted to open it up. Inside it's actually one of the I think most sophisticated games that we've seen come out of surreygames.ca. There's some cards here, black and white cards. Now these are called intersection cards. So on the back of them you'll see that there's a Surrey intersection. 132nd Street and 84th Avenue. We'll take those aside. Here's some little, they look like little police car tokens. Different colors on them. Now this I was a little surprised to see here. This game actually comes with some live ammunition, so I would not suggest shaking this box, and be very careful where you store it. So when you're taking it out, take the live ammunition out very carefully. Set it down to the side very gently. What else have we got here? So these right here are it's a little picture of some rising property values. So those are the targeted shootings tokens. We'll explain that a little more later. And these tokens with the crime scene picture on them, those are the random shooting tokens. Now we've got a whole bunch of neighborhood tiles here. We've got two different kinds though. We've got some green ones that you can see, very beautiful pictures of some manicured gardens. So those are the good neighborhood tiles. Some nice green space. Lots of good neighborhoods in Surrey. Let's take those ones out. Now here we've got the bad neighborhood tiles. So you can see lots of badass graffiti on there. So those are all the bad neighborhood tiles. Yeah, we've got some bad neighborhoods here in Surrey too. So let's take this out. And so there we've got the board laid out. Now the instructions tell us to take 36 of these, a mixture of these good neighborhood tiles and bad neighborhood tiles, and mix them up randomly. So I've done that, and then we have to turn them over and lay them out face down on the board randomly. So I'm going to go ahead. So the gameplay with this game is a little more complicated, so I'm going to go through this one in a bit more detail. So with each round of play, there's actually two phases. There's a shots fired phase and then an investigation phase. So for the shots fired phase, a player picks up one of these intersection cards, says shots fired, turns it over, and sees where the shots are fired. So this time the report is that there's shots fired at 132nd and 84th Avenue. So what you do is you turn over the neighborhood tiles that are in that area, and this is to see what kind of neighborhood the shots are fired in. And you'd leave one of these live pieces of ammunition right there to remember what intersection had the shots fired. So now here, look, you can see every one of these neighborhoods is a good neighborhood. So shots fired, that's probably nothing to worry about. It's probably just a targeted shooting. So we can take one of these rising property values tokens and we can put it there on those tiles, and we really have nothing to be concerned about in that neighborhood. It's just a targeted shooting, and the game can go on. So it would go on to an investigation phase, but right now I'm going to play another shots fired phase. So we pick up one of these cards, shots fired at 140th and 96th Avenue. So that's up here. So we would take one of these shots fired tokens, put it there, and we turn over the surrounding neighborhood. You can see already I'm seeing a lot of badass graffiti there. And I turn over all four, and look at that. Every single neighborhood is a bad neighborhood. That shots fired token gets replaced with one of these crime scene tokens, and that is random violence probably happening in those bad neighborhoods. So and those stay like that for the rest of the game. So if you have a token on here, those are always going to be good neighborhoods. Those are always going to be bad neighborhoods for the rest of the game. Let's do another shots fired phase and see what happens this time. 132nd, shots fired at 132nd and 96th Avenue. So that's right there. We would take one of our shots fired tokens. We're going to turn over and see what kind of neighborhood this gun violence is happening in. And look at that. So this time we've got a mixture of good neighborhoods and bad neighborhoods. So we don't put one of these tokens on there. We just leave that shots fired token there. And so we've got to get to that place and investigate what kind of shooting that was. So that's how the shots fired phase can go. Now remember I said there's two phases. There's the shots fired phase and the investigation phase. So those are the ways that a shots fired phase could go. Now we're going to go on to the investigation phase. So because I'm just playing solo, I'm going to take my one police car, and I can put it on either end of King George Boulevard or 88th Avenue. I'm going to put my car there, and then I roll the die to see how many squares I can go. It's 3, so I can move 3. 1, 2, 3. So I'm trying to get to one of the bad neighborhoods, because if I can get to a bad neighborhood, I can turn that neighborhood into a good neighborhood. Now, if I had turned over the last one and had made all 4 of them good neighborhoods, then we would go ahead and we would put a targeted shooting tile on here, and the property values would go up in that neighborhood. But it's not quite done yet. We've got 3 good neighborhoods, but we've still got 1 bad neighborhood there. So that token stays there. We still haven't determined whether that's going to be a targeted shooting or a random shooting. So let's go ahead now and go back to another shots fired phase. So we draw a card, we say shots fired, and it's at 132nd and 92nd Avenue. So that's right here. This is right in the neighborhood. So what we do here is, and this is interesting, so we turn over these 2 cards that haven't been turned over yet. So we've got a bad neighborhood there. We've got another we've got a good neighborhood there. But you know what happens? If you get shots fired, even if it's in a good neighborhood, these 2 neighborhoods right here that used to be good, they are now bad. So we switch out those good neighborhood tiles and we put in some bad neighborhood tiles. And we look around and look at this. We've got one intersection here that's now entirely surrounded by bad neighborhoods. So that right there gets a random shooting token, and now those stay bad neighborhoods for the rest of the game. So there's an example of a few of the shots fired phases and the investigation phases. And already you can see this part of Surrey over here, a lot of bad neighborhoods, a lot of random shootings over here. This side right here, it's looking a little better. The shootings are probably more targeted shootings. So let's just see how this goes. I'm going to turn the tiles over and I'm going to play a game from scratch.
Shots fired. No, I ain't too flawless, and no, I ain't the best, and no, I don't say sorry, and no, I ain't perfect, but I am the man. I am the man. Shots fired.
So you can see how this game turns out here. It's actually a really fun game to play. So if we count the tokens here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 targeted shooting tokens. So those are areas in Surrey where the property values can go up. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 random shooting. So those are in the bad neighborhoods. So in this game, the good neighborhoods won and property values go up. I did think it was really interesting how the good neighborhoods sort of started to cluster and the bad neighborhoods, once an area starts to get bad, it's really hard to turn that around. So, unlike some of the other SurreyGames.ca games that I've reviewed, this game, it's beautiful. I love the colors. I love the gameplay. But, using live ammunition, not cool, you guys. Really not cool. So I love this game. I love how it plays. But live ammo, not cool. This game sucks. I wouldn't give it to anyone.
Shots fired. No, I ain't too flawless, and no, I ain't the best, and no, I don't say sorry, and no, I ain't perfect, but I am the man. I am the man. Shots fired.